Welcome to this episode of the Mindset Flex podcast. This is your host, Elise, and today we're going to dive deep into discouragement. So this is definitely something that everybody struggles with, especially if you're going for new things, especially if you're setting new goals or, tapping into an area of your life that you are just so passionate about or you have big goals in, but you know that it's going to take a long ride. And in that beginning phases, it's tough. Like it feels discouraging, especially when you surround yourself with people that know what they're doing, or maybe they're already ahead of you in that area. Obviously, as I talked about it many times before, this is definitely skiing for me. It's extremely hard to not feel discouraged, especially if I'm, rolling up to the park and there's all these people that are throwing cork sevens like it's no big deal. And I'm like, oh my God, like how, like just what and why, right? And then the first initial thing that wants to set in is discouragement. And discouragement really it's really not something that you can control because it's something that comes up subconsciously. Like you cannot control your first thought, but you know that you can always control your second thought. And when that discouragement comes up and the questions of, wow, like, why am I even here? Is it even worth trying? Maybe you're starting a new business and you see people around you who are being so successful, and it's hard to realize or tell yourself the truth of, hey, they've been here before. Like they went through the same exact thing that I'm going through at this moment, because honestly, the story that your brain wants to tell you is the path of least resistance, which is, hey, they're more blessed than you are. They have more talent than you are. I don't know why you're even trying. It's not going to work out. You should just give up. So the first thing you need to realize is when you're feeling discouraged, it's your brain really wanting to give into the feeling and the desire of giving up. And we know that giving up is dumb. We know that the only way to feel is to give up, but it's so tempting because it comes so easy, and it's just so much easier to actually just give up and leave it in the past than to actually deal with getting through the discouragement, getting through the hard stuff, fighting through it, right? Because you have to fight yourself. Like you have to get better yourself. So when these discouraging things and thoughts come up, you need to realize, okay, hi, welcome, discouraging thought. I realize that you're here and I'm not going to beat myself up about it, but I'm also realizing that I have a choice to make now, and I'm not in control of my first thought, but I'm in control of my second thought. And I know it can be so overwhelming. It can feel like you're lost, like you're roaming through life without a compass. Like, why are you doing it? Just the questions, you see people around you in whatever area that you're feeling the discouragement in, and just your mind is telling you these stories of why it's not going to work out for you. But even though it feels like there's so much working against you at the moment, it's totally possible to overcome the feeling of discouragement. And not only is it possible, it's actually a must. Like if you want to succeed in this thing that you're going after, or in the area that you're trying to level up your life in, getting rid of discouragement is a must. You will not achieve your goals and your dreams if you do not know how to say goodbye to discouragement when it comes up. Again, I'm not saying that it shouldn't come up because it's something you cannot control, right? Our subconscious minds work against us a lot of times, but you always have a choice to make once it comes up. So for you to understand why you might be struggling when you're going after goals, you need to understand that it does stem from maybe not being aware of discouraging thoughts coming up, and not just not being aware of it, but not being in control of them. And so when these discouraging thoughts come up, they actually cause low self-esteem, low sense of self-worth, victimization, sensitive to being criticized, or it brings up feelings of rejection. And then it also makes you unable to make strategic decisions because you're so clouded by emotions. So when you're struggling just so much and not understanding why you're not getting ahead and why you're struggling so much more than the people around you, you need to realize that it starts with that first thought of discouragement. And, once it gets to that phase of crying or, screams of frustration, which I've been there, I've literally cried at the park, like just tears inside my goggles, making sure nobody can see it. It's definitely hard. It's so hard to come back from it, but it's possible. So how you cope with feeling discouraged is up to you, and that's something you need to figure out. There's definitely a lot of different ways. Like you can reach out for support. If you feel like you can't dive through what you're going through on your own, you need to reach out to people who are doing better than you in the area that you're trying to get better at, because the people that are doing better than you, they will never put you down. They'll never be the people who are like, yeah, I don't know why you're trying, honestly. Like, you're not going to succeed. The people that try to put you down are always the people that aren't doing better than you. So make sure that if you're reaching out for people, like for support, then you're picking the people that you know are going to pour into you and give you the right advice. And your loved ones are there for a reason, but they might not always understand what you're going through because they have not been down the same path, and they might not give you the right advice. They might say, oh, honey, you're struggling so much. Oh, like, honestly, I just don't know if you need to be on this path. I just don't know if it's going to work out for you. So make sure that whoever you go to for advice, they have your life. Like, a really good advice I got when I was 19 from one of my closest friends that I just looked up to because she was so successful at the time. She was in her mid-20s, but she said, Elise, find someone who has what you want and do what they do. That was it. Find someone who has what you want and do what they do. And in those beginning phases, no matter what you're doing, no matter what you're going up against, you will feel all the feelings of discouragement, all the feelings of wanting to give up. And everybody does. Everybody has. You're not special. I hate to say this, but you're not. And that's the beauty of it, actually. Like, none of us are special. We have all gone through the same exact feelings and faced the same exact trials that other people do. And that's why it's so important to find someone who already has what you want, and then just literally keep doing what they do. And if you can, reach out to them when you struggle, because they'll be like, oh, dude, I went through the same thing. I know how it feels. I got you. You just got to keep pushing. You just got to keep going. Like, I cannot tell you how blessed I am for people that have believed in me, and they've come skiing with me and have been able to reverse that terrible head trash that I have had. And again, it's just been subconscious. Like, I recognize that I know it, but I know that for me, I can't just pep talk myself out of it. I need to find people that are on that level, because my head trash is rooted so deeply that I need a lot of voices to out-talk me out of it, right? So all of this I'm saying, this is just stuff that I learned that has helped me, and I'm trying to pass that along because I need to hear this every day as well. So that's one thing that you can do and you should do, is reach out for support. And again, just make sure that it's the right people. You can also do other things personally, like practice deep breathing or journaling or giving yourself a pep talk. Like, all of those things help. And maybe it's just doing everything, right? Like, a little percentage of everything adds up. And deep breathing, I've talked about this before too. It changes your state. It calms your heart down. So when you're getting discouraged, a lot of times anxiety can pop up as well. And you're feeling discouraged a lot and you're not able to work through it, right? Like, you just let it come up and you're not like controlling your second thought, but you let that first one take over. It can over time cause depression, which is even harder to get out of, right? Because now we're talking about a chemical imbalance. So it's so important to catch those discouraging thoughts in the beginning and constantly practice, okay, I can control my second thought. I can control my second thought. What is my second thought going to be? It's hard. It's such hard work. Don't expect it to be easy. Like, it's not easy. Not many people can do it. But when you do it over and over and over again, you get into the habit of doing that. You get into the habit of changing those discouraging thoughts. And guess what happens when you start cultivating a new habit? One day you wake up and you're like, oh, damn, like, wow, like, I haven't had a discouraging thought in a long time. Like, that's just not where your brain goes anymore. And people that get into like an anxiety cycle, they get into a depressive cycle, it's literally only because they have practiced and taught their minds to get into a very negative habit of thinking. And it's really, really, really hard to come out of it. Like, the deeper you go, obviously, the harder it is to come out. The longer time it takes, the harder the work is. So if, whatever phases of discouraging thoughts you're in, know that there's hope, know that it's possible, but the longer you wait to practice this, being in control of your second thought and realizing, hey, like, everybody struggles with this. Like, I'm not special. Everyone struggles, but the people that make it or the people that get over it are the ones that actually like do the work to get over it. So really, really dig deep into that and do the work on yourself too. And deep breathing is just so, so helpful because as you're focusing on your breath, like you take like 6 deep breaths. 6 deep breaths can literally change your state because it changes your heart rate. And when you're anxious, your heart rate goes up, your cortisol goes up. So you need to work on literally changing the chemicals in your body. And sometimes we cannot do that with just thoughts. Like sometimes we've allowed ourselves to go so deep down that now it's a physical reaction. Like now our bodies are feeling a certain way. Maybe you're nauseous, maybe you're sweating, you've got butterflies like all over your body, but it's not good. So you need to go either work out, like get a really hard workout in or some sort of exercise or deep breathing or something that changes your physical state. Journaling, journaling is something I've been doing for years and it truly has changed my life. And not in a way where I pull out my journal. I'm like, oh, dear journal, I had a shitty day. Like I'm so pissed. No. What I write down is I pull out that journal and I know that when I start putting things into ink, it better be something that I want. Like I better be putting the stuff that I want in ink. So if I'm discouraged, if I'm anxious or I'm depressed, I pull out my journal and I start writing, okay, I want this out of my life. Like I know I'm having some head trash about these things, but I know that that's not right. And what I want to focus on is the truth because maybe I don't even believe it right now, but if I write it down, I'm going to know that the truth is that I'm just believing head trash. I'm believing lies. I don't actually suck. Everybody has gone through this process. Like, what do you need to write down that deep down is the truth, but it's just hard for you to believe it? And that's what you need to do. Don't journal about the negative stuff. I never believed that. And again, that's just what I do. That's what I practice. It's very rare for me to write down like my negative thoughts because I don't want to give them life, right? Like I immediately want to write over them. Like I want to write the truth and positivity and manifest the good. Like I want to attract the good and manifest that, not the bad. Like I don't want to put even more emphasis on the bad. So be very mindful when you journal, if you journal. It is an extremely powerful tool, but only if you do it right. Do not write down manifesting the bad stuff. And you can always give yourself a pep talk, You can always honestly, I really, really love listening to motivational speeches. Like I've been listening to Eric Thomas and Les Brown or Tony Robbins. I mean, you can literally go to YouTube. This is how I started because I was in such a deep, dark place in my life back in 2014. And I just typed in like motivational speeches. Literally, I was like, I just need some motivation. And that's how I found Eric Thomas. He was the first one. And when he said, I use the pain to push me to greatness, I was like, oh my gosh, like you can do that. Like my mind was just blown. Like my head was that exploding head emoji. Like that was me. And that changed my life. And ever since then, if I get into a dark place, I listen to these motivational speeches, but in a way where I like totally believe it, totally take it as mine and actually give myself that pep talk. Like, yeah, Lee's like, yeah, for sure. Like you got it. I go to the mirror, have a conversation with myself. We got this. Come on. We got this. So whatever you need to do in order to get rid of that thought, that first thought of discouragement, figure it out and keep practicing it because the more you practice it, the easier it'll get. But just remember, it's like any other habit. It's like anything else. If you're not practicing it, if you're not doing it, don't expect it to work. Don't expect it to work. You're going to keep reversing your progress and you're going to keep having these thoughts. So that's what I got for you for today. If you loved this episode, please share it on Instagram. Tag me at Elise Phillip, ELIZFULOP. And if you haven't subscribed or left a review, it would mean the world to me because that's how iTunes lets other people know that, hey, this is something you should listen to. So if it helped you, I really, really, really would appreciate it. I do this for you guys. I love you guys. Thank you for the support, and I'll see you in the next episode.